guys amped up, ready to go, get back on the field Saturday night. So, a lot of excitement. I anticipate a great day today. The weather's been fantastic. It's going to be a great night for football Saturday night. I mean, you can't ask for much better than this. And, I'm excited to see how our guys are going to respond and play.
I guess Mark Stoops was kind of non-committal on the SEC call today about who he's going to start at quarterback. What do you guys anticipate there?
Well, I mean, we're prepared for different scenarios. I mean, with where they've been this year at their quarterback situation, the injuries that they've had, obviously, putting Lynn in there is going to add a whole new dynamic. Obviously, it's going to pull one of their best weapons at wide receiver into a quarterback where he's touching the ball every play. I anticipate him playing some quarterback. How much, I don't know, but and I think Sawyer's going to play as well. I think it'll be just a mix-up. I really do. I think it's whatever. If they get a hot hand, and they're probably going to stay with it, and if not, they'll probably go back and forth. But we're prepared. It's about how we play, and that's what I'm focused on more than anything.
Is that a disadvantage, though, having to prepare for two quarterbacks instead of spending all your focus on one?
Well, I mean, obviously you got to spend a little bit more prep time with that, with different scenarios, and but that's, you have to do that regardless through the course of the week. But again, we have to put different focuses for different guys that are back there. But at the end of the day, we still got to block, we still got to tackle, we got to run the football, and we got to play at a very high level.
If you have to play Cunningham, how do you feel about him since he didn't play the last game?
Yeah, of course, Myron has gotten game experience this year, so I expect Myron to step in there at left tackle and be just fine. I don't have a problem with that.
Still expect Colton to practice today?
I do not believe he's going to be out at practice today, so it'll be I know we're evaluating right now still, and so we'll see as the week continues to progress. But right now he won't be out today.
If he would have be cleared on Thursday, could he be game ready?
Well, it all depends on where we are, and we feel like he's confident in the plan. We'd like for our guys to go through practice as much as possible if we can, and get some type of run through and some type of contact on them. So we're just going to wait and see on that.
What have Lynn's RPOs looked like? Have they been quicker routes? What have they done?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's just electric with the ball in his hand, so his ability to run the football. As a quarterback in high school, I mean, a guy, you can't go to sleep on his passing game. The ball does get out of his hand. And I know he feels his natural position is a wide receiver, a return specialist. But at the same sense, he's got experience at quarterback, and we're going to have to be prepared for when he gets in there that it's not just an automatic run.
You said on the SEC call today that, talking to Barry and other guys on staff, that maybe none of them have been to a game at Kentucky?
Well, no, the Chief and those guys have played and obviously been up there several times.
Okay.
Welcome in. It's our Thursday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio. It's a really, really packed show today, as we're going to be in the bus nonstop, getting you guys ready for a lot of big-time SEC football coming up. And we let you come in with head football coach of the Arkansas Razorbacks, Chad Morris. He previewed their big SEC trip east versus west to Lexington, Kentucky, to take on the Kentucky Wildcats. And this is going to be a big matchup real quick. I want to bring in my Bruce co-host. This is going to be a real big matchup. I think it's a must-win, Demetrius, for both teams. But I think this is a must-win just to start showing signs of this program really trending upward for Chad in year two, 18 games in. I think this is a big win. And I think this is one that if you're a Razorback fan, you got to feel 50-50 heading into kickoff for Saturday night at 6:30.
It's one of those games where it's a must-win for Coach Chad. I think this is going to kind of determine the rest of the season. This is one of those midway point games that you're either going to be made or broke right here, because when you look at the rest of the schedule, it's not really favored for Arkansas to win too many more games. So this is kind of one that you circle off with the rest of the games remaining, saying, hey guys, this is one we got to win. If we're really serious about trying to go bowling, and we're really serious about making that culture change and the next step within this program, with the way we play with Texas A&M, people are expecting us to come out and play a fourth quarter game. So I think it's crucial.
I do feel like this is going to be a very, very well-played game on both sides of the football. I think with Arkansas being able to implement all their wide receivers for the first time outside of Jordan Jones, I don't think that we'll see Jordan Jones just yet. I don't think the coaching staff feel like he's quite there, but we'll bring the added dimension of being able to stretch the field and just another deep threat when he is made available to this offense. But defensively, all hands on deck. Also, too, on the offensive side, Chad made a note that he didn't feel good about senior offensive tackle Colton Jackson being able to get reps in this game. But, with the way that offensive line has been, cross-trained, I think Dustin Fry has done a yeoman's job and done a really good job getting the depth that he has been able to build at that offensive line. As, they've been able to plug and play and not really miss a big-time beat. I also think that defensively, when you look at Arkansas, it's going to be really important, Demetrius, that this secondary, and in particular, the linebackers. I think this game is a game for the linebackers. If they can really contain the running ability of Bowden, because, he's going to get a little snaps there at quarterback. So I think that they're going to be real disciplined. I think that's going to be an element of the offense that, Stoops and the gang have not shown up to this point, but we'll try to implement a little bit more versus this Arkansas football team if he is to go from wide receiver to quarterback, because now you're going to get him in the get the ball in his hands quite a bit. So I think and I don't know if you agree with me, but I think this is a game that the linebackers will decide how well Arkansas does defensively on Saturday night.
Yeah, it definitely has to do with the linebackers, but I think more so the pass rush. I think when you have this guy that's play receiver, he's not a true quarterback, so he wants to use his legs. So I think it's all really about containing his quarterback and making him become a quarterback, making him be a true quarterback. Don't give up those gaps in the defense where he can go up the middle or do a QB scramble and make something out of nothing. I think if those defensive ends and that interior defensive lineman play sound gapping and really contain this quarterback from, and you want to keep this guy in the pocket.
Right.
So again, I say if these guys from the defensive front can do what they need to do, I think from a linebacker standpoint, Scooter should have a great game. I think this should be a game where he at least has 2 sacks because the guy's going to be so pressured and not used to sitting in the pocket. It's going to force him to step up. And Scooter just has to be in the right place at the right time, and I think it could be a career game for him.
Well, real quick before we get this show kicked off and get our caravan rolling around the SEC, to get you guys ready for SEC football that'll be taking place in multiple great venues throughout the conference this Saturday. I want to give a shout out to our sponsors, as it would not be possible without you all. Lindsay and Associates, with an office location in Fayetteville, an office location also too in Rogers. That's Locomotion, located just below the Northwest Arkansas Mall in Fayetteville. Corey Beck's Custom Painting, residential, commercial, anything you want it to look, you need looking good. He did our establishment, and I'm very pleased. Call Corey Beck, and you won't be disappointed. And our newest sponsor, but one I'm quite fond of, KDK's Chicken. It's at 989 Razorback Road there in Fayetteville. Go down and see Keith and Kathy and get your plate of that love. And like they always say, it's not your mama's. It's the best chicken in the South. But let's get you set up here real quick. In our next segment coming up, there's another part. We talked to Josh Lemoyne yesterday of LSU Football Truth. So we thought we'd go down and get the second part because that's just how we like to do it. We're going to head down to the swamp here real shortly and catch up with Gators Breakdowns, David Waters. And then before that, Arkansas also had another program that's getting a lot of national attention, that being on the girls basketball side, as the women from the University of Arkansas and Mike Neighbors had their initial Women's Basketball Media Day. We caught up with Coach Neighbors. We'll let you hear what he had to say. And then following that, David Waters. While I get my bus ready and we're about to take off, we'll see you in a minute. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. Let's get it.
I'll do to y'all what I've been doing to our players pretty much the start of every practice. We always remind them where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. So just a quick recap. The excitement that we finished the year out on last year, we've rolled in, done all the things that you hope momentum will do for you in the off season. The momentum of the crowds in Bud Walton Arena, the momentum of playing our best basketball in March, almost into April. That's where we've been, finishing with the second most wins in school history in the SEC, all of those positive things that we put on pamphlets and profiles and things we mail out. That's where we've been. The where we are is the most important part, where we are today. And we've been practicing for about 2 months. we chose to use our 2-hour windows the way the NCAA breaks it down. We used our 2-hour windows starting pretty much the day we got back on campus. I did not require much of them out of the summer. We had such a long year last year. We had the preseason foreign trip, the extra practices, the time abroad in Italy. Then we played 37 games. So it had been a really, really long year. We have 4 freshmen coming in and a newcomer in Erin Barnum that was here with us all last year. We'll get a chance to talk about her now this year. So we really wanted to give a lot of attention early on to those younger kids. I didn't require a whole bunch out of them out of the summer, so when we got back in school, we got started. Then we had the traditional start date for everybody else, just like everybody else did, and we've been going about 2 weeks doing that. We are better than we were this time last year. Every single roster spot is better than they were this time last year. So that's where we are. Where we're going, excitement's what's driving us there. I think the expectations are higher than they've been in our locker room for a while. Every one of our kids' standards are very, very high, and they've been really, really good in practice ever since we've started.
It's our Thursday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio. We come to you here each and every day on 479 KDSJ from 1 to 2 p.m. And we'd like to talk a little SEC football throughout the week. We talk Hogs, but we also talk SEC.
Thanks for having me again, Pat.
Get into this big matchup. It just seems to get bigger for you guys and bigger. You're coming off a very, very huge win over another SEC powerhouse in the West, the Auburn Tigers there in the swamp. Now you make your way down for another big time matchup with another top 10 matchup, ironically from that tough Western Division, the LSU Tigers there in Death Valley this Saturday. What are some of the keys that you took away from this Auburn win that you can head in and use as probably a gauge test of what you'll be looking for versus LSU this Saturday?
Well, first of all, Pat, it's that Auburn win for Dan Mullen and him right now makes Dan Mullen 3-0 versus the SEC West since he went to Gainesville against Mississippi State and LSU last year, and already won against Auburn this year. Of course, it was led by that big-time Gators front, big-time Gators defense that just really harassed Bo Nix, confused Bo Nix pretty much all afternoon last Saturday in the swamp. They got to him on the very first play of the game with Jonathan Bernard. They were trying to set up a screen. It was in his face on the screen. He hit the dirt pretty hard and kind of just set the tone for the day of what the Florida defense was gonna do to Bo Nix. And of course, now you throwing picks in the end zone that save Florida some points there on defense, and just for the most part of the day, they just let Bo Nix be inaccurate. I think that's probably what they saw on film. He's not consistent in hitting his passes, and there was really no need to bring a whole lot of pressure because they were getting pressure with the front four, and they could drop back guys in coverage and get turnovers off of how inaccurate Bo Nix can be at times. So Florida did what they needed to do on defense there, and that's going to be the calling card when they travel to Baton Rouge Saturday night and take on this high-flying attack with Joe Burrow.
You will want to stay on that side of the ball because I do think that that's going to be the matchup, Florida defense versus the LSU offense. Ty Grantham, who I consider is a great defensive mind, one of the elite defensive mind in all of college football, put quite the pressure on that freshman there with it being Nix there at Auburn. What do you think he's going to try to, come up with defensively versus Joe Burrow and that outstanding wide receiver core that they possess there in Baton Rouge?
Pat, I'm really looking early on how much does Todd Grantham decide to blitz. I mean, is it going to be a lot like last week against Auburn where you don't necessarily have to blitz and make Joe Burrow have to fit it in the tight windows? It can do that there, or do you pressure him and make him hear footsteps the rest of the game? If maybe you just do that with your front four. I don't know. Maybe you blitz him and make him kind of read a defense before, or maybe even make him think the blitz is coming. And there's a lot of ways Todd Grantham can attack this. I think early on, I think you do kind of bring the blitz and make sure you let him know you're going to be in the backfield all day. That might lead to some big plays for this LSU offense, but I think Todd Grantham really trusts Marco Wilson, C.J. Henderson, and this Florida secondary, leaving them out there on islands. And don't get me wrong, I mean, yeah, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, will lead the way for that LSU wide receiver core. But Florida feels pretty comfortable. Todd Grantham feels pretty comfortable with C.J. Henderson and Marco Wilson back there. So that's an NFL draft preview.
Right.
Anybody who's doing draft coverage, they're going to be looking at this game with this Florida defensive backs versus these LSU wide receivers. That's probably going to be the matchup of the weekend here. But it really is. Joe Burrow's played well with pressure in space so far this year. So it is a tough task for the Florida defense. They haven't played a wide open offense like this, an offense that can go 4 or 5 wide and move the ball. Florida hasn't necessarily played an offense like that this year. But look on the other side, LSU hasn't played a defense like this Florida defense all year either. The highest ranked passing yard per game defense that they've played all year is Georgia Southern at 103rd.
Right.
So they haven't played a defense like Florida's going to bring. Florida hasn't played an offense like this, so it's going to be interesting to see who comes out on top when that LSU offense is on the field. This Florida defense is on the field. And something that's not to be overlooked. I mean, we talk about this passing game for LSU and maybe what Kyle Trask can do for there, but whatever team runs the ball, I think both teams struggle running the ball, so it may be who ends up running the ball better. And we look too much at this passing game. The running game might decide the winner of this game.
The thing that I also want to, piggyback also too is that running game of Florida. T. Ryan had quite the ball game, and I know it had to have a little added incentive being an Alabama kid that, never was afforded the opportunity by Auburn or the Alabama Crimson Tide. Talk about that side of the ball versus the LSU defense. That, it's been a maligned group of offensive linemen. They've had their struggles, but it just seems like each and every week, the running game has kind of stepped up and picked up the slack with Felipe going down and having that young and inexperienced quarterback. Talk about that importance on how Florida has to run the ball this Saturday.
I put it this way, if Florida, the easiest path to a Florida victory is to run the ball. Now, I'm not saying they will, but if they do, that is the easiest path. Because there's 2 reasons there. It keeps that high-flying LSU offense on the sideline, and it also protects Kyle Trask. Kyle Trask can play off of play action. He's not dropping back as much, and if this run game's going, if Dan Mullen can run the ball 30, 35 times, he'll take it in this game because it will slow the game down, and it protects Kyle Trask from getting hit so much. And we've seen, even before the Auburn game last week, when he gets hit, he can fumble. And I think the stat is he's gotten sacked 9 times and he's fumbled 5 of those.
Right.
So that has got to improve. But look, some of that comes with experience. He doesn't have a lot of experience out there, as we know. That internal clock that has to go off the quarterback, that really comes with experience. So he's gaining that each and every week, each and every snap, and we'll see how he handles this atmosphere, this crazy crowd that's going to be a Saturday night in Baton Rouge. We'll see. He doesn't have a lot of experience. He's handled pressure well so far. Late game against Kentucky, making his first start against Tennessee, playing Auburn last week. He's passed every test so far, but he hasn't had a test like this because it's not just a crowd noise.
Right.
It's how do you, when you see that crowd, when you put the sights and the sounds together, how do you handle it mentally? He's a very mature kid, but until we actually see how he handles it, it is a big question. And I really do think we'll see Emory Jones this week at quarterback. As we mentioned, this Florida run game is struggling a bit. Besides that big LaMichael Pirine run last week, it was about 3 yards a carry for this Florida running back. So I do think you put Emory Jones in this situation to do some read option, do some speed option to help get this run game going, because Dan Mullen has really had a lot of success versus Dave Aranda, the LSU defensive coordinator, the last 2 years, and it was because of the run game and the quarterback run game. So I do think we'll see Emory Jones more than we've seen him in these last couple of weeks.
How big will this kicking game for either side be in this game? And if so, if it comes down to the special teams, Who, in your honest opinion, David, do you give the advantage to, Florida or the LSU Tigers?
I mean, honestly, Pat, I don't know too much about the LSU specialists here. I do know that Florida feels very good. They have one of the best kickers in the nation, one of the best punters in the nation. But when you play LSU, when Florida's played LSU in the past, there's been and a lot of it was with Les Miles as the head coach. And we know the trickeration he was bringing to the table. There's been a lot of drama with LSU special teams versus Florida. So, maybe this game's always weird. This game has weird sights and weird turns out there. But Florida does feel pretty good about McPherson, the kicker, and Tommy Townsend, the punter there. But as far as Florida feels really good about Townsend and maybe trying to back up LSU. I'm not so sure how aggressive Florida would be, and say if it's 4th and short, do you try and punt them deep? Or Florida's kind of, I'll kind of go with that, Pat. Do they go for more 4th downs? And then Florida's playing with a lot of house money here,
Right.
going to Baton Rouge. You got that big win versus Auburn last week. You actually, not to try and concede a loss, but Florida can afford a loss here as long as they take care of business the next 2 games against South Carolina. It all comes down to Jacksonville and Georgia. And even if you have a loss to LSU, you go and beat Georgia head-to-head, then you have an East head-to-head tiebreaker there. So while this game is important, and of course you'd rather win it, if Florida loses, everything is still in front of them.
Talking with David Waters of the Gators Breakdown. He keeps us updated with this up to the minute Florida Gators football talk each and every week. And we got about a minute and a half real quick, and I want to finish by saying I want your offensive player, your defensive player, David, and the final score in Death Valley on Saturday night between the LSU Tigers and the Florida Gators.
Yeah, I think it's going to take a little projection, Pat, but I do go back to Emory Jones. I really do think that he will be instrumental Saturday night. Last year versus this LSU defense, Dan Mullen, they ran for over 200 yards on this LSU defense. 2 years ago, as Mississippi State's head coach, Dan Mullen ran for almost 300 yards on LSU's defense. And a lot of that, as I said, is through the quarterback power run game,
Right.
Speed option, read option there. So I do think quarterback running is instrumental versus this LSU defense. And I think we'll go to the return of Jabari Zuniga. We thought we'd see it last week. I think he was the player I named last week in this situation. I'm going to do it again because he's supposed to play Saturday.
All right.
And another reason I'll say that is Jonathan Bernard's got an ankle sprain. I think he'll play. I think he'll be okay to play, but that's just something to look out for. So Jabari Zuniga may be needed big time headed to Baton Rouge. And right now, Pat, I got it. I'm picking the Gators getting their first loss of the season here in Baton Rouge. I'm going 34-30 Tigers. And I think that home crowd, that atmosphere is just too much for the Gators.
Well, my man, we'll be talking next week because, like you said, it just continues to mean more. I don't think there's a tougher schedule in the SEC up to this point than what Dan Mullen and the Florida Gators have played. But as always, David, thanks for taking time out here on OTH.
Thanks, Pat.
That was David Waters of the Gators Breakdown covering all the Gators 411. Demetrius, this is going to be one heck of a football game, my man, down in the Bayou. One heck of a football game. Talk to me about it.
No, I'm looking forward to it. I am a LSU Tiger fan. I am. I said I am a Bayou Bengal.
My goodness. You hear that, people? I have to deal with this in the studio during a show every day. But we can't lie. He's been riding that train for the whole time we've been part of you guys' journey, and you are part of ours. But we're going to step away. We talked that media day. We caught up with four very important pieces to this year's top 25 ball club under Mike Neighbors and that women's program. We caught up with them. We caught up with junior sensation Chelsea Dungy. Also, we caught up with senior shooting guard Alexis Toll-Free, senior guard Jalen Mason, and another junior guard that sit out last year but got a lot of expectations coming in. Amber Ramirez. Caught up with them, and then next up, we're heading to Tuscaloosa because they got a big one. They're heading to CSTAT for another gigantic rival, but this time it's a West versus West. Stephen M. Smith of Touchdown Alabama will be joining us. That's all coming up. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. Back in a bit. Let's get it. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio. It's our Thursday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio here on KDSJ 479. And real quick, before we continue on getting you ready for some big-time SEC football matchups that will be taking place this Saturday, we want to give a shout-out to our sponsors, Lindsay and Associates, Locomotion, Corey Beck's Custom Painting, and KDK Chicken. I want to give a thank you to our gracious sponsors for making all this possible. But we got another one coming up, and it's been anticipated, West versus West, for quite some time. Both teams coming off weeks, and so the element of being hurt or not healthy, that's all out the window. Let's get you ready as the Alabama Crimson Tides will be making their way to C-Stat to take on the Texas A&M Aggies and Jimbo Fisher in the gang. And we thought we'd talk about it with our good buddy of the Touchdown Alabama, Stephen M. Smith. Stephen, welcome back to OTH, my brother.
Doing good, guys. How we feeling?
I'm always doing good, man. Blessed to live another day here in this blessed world we call the U.S. of A. But I know things are really, really excited down there. What's the temperature of the Alabama Crimson Tide as they make their way to C-Stat for this big West versus West ball game on Saturday?
Well, right now the temperature in Tuscaloosa is about a cool 80 degrees right now. Not too bad. Some fall weather trying to make its way in, but in terms of just the team going to College Station to face Texas A&M, of a temperature very, very focused. This group is, especially on defense. These guys have heard the whole season so far about how it's not what it used to be. It's not playing like it used to play. It's not suffocating teams. And that's not saying that this defense is terrible. It's just saying that they're finding different ways to win. But I believe that this group has heard the outside noise. I got a chance to talk with Xavier McKinney on Tuesday. He said that this group, there's some elements to their game that they have not brought out yet, that they're about to bring out, and that they will bring out starting this week. So I'm excited and anticipating what this defense is going to do on the field, because despite the fact that Kellen Mond is a dual threat quarterback and a very, very good athlete, against Alabama, he has not had a ton of success. 2 touchdown passes, he's got 4 total touchdowns in his career against Alabama, but 2 touchdown passes. He's thrown 3 interceptions. He's been actually sacked 11 times in these 2 matchups against the Crimson Tide, both 2017 and, of course, the last year. So I'm excited to see what this defense looks to unfold as it starts to prove that, hey, we are still Alabama. We are still feared on defense.
When you look at this team, this is the beginning of what each and every program goes through. There's a stretch of conference game that we call it the SEC Gauntlet. You guys, for the next 5 out of 6 weeks, you're going to be playing 4 SEC Western teams, 3 of those being in Tuscaloosa. Big matchups, a rivalry game versus Tennessee, and also, too, you got this big one here coming up on Saturday. What is it about this game that makes it so important? Because I feel I'm of the belief if Alabama was to get this game in C-Stat, as so many expect, it's going to, really build momentum and all. You guys, is this something that you feel like to get this, you can pretty much go ahead and try to run the table with the schedule being favorable and most of what's left will be there in Tuscaloosa?
I can see that, Pat, but it's always Nick Saban taking things one step at a time. When I look at Texas A&M, this is a big matchup in College Station at Kyle Field, and prior to the season, this is a game that a lot of these national talking heads had highlighted as, if Alabama was to drop a game, this would be the game. Seeing how Jimbo Fisher and Kellen Mond worked so well together in year one, and they came so close to beating Clemson last year, took LSU to 7 overtimes before winning that game, and the fact that the Aggies brought in a top 5 signing class back in February, everybody kind of got that vibe that this would be the year that A&M, Jimbo Fisher would push and challenge for the SEC West crown, a shot to play in Atlanta for a conference title, and a shot to push for the college football playoff. And thus far, a lot of frustration in Kyle Field because those expectations are not being met this season. But still, this is a team, a lot of talent. This is a team, a lot of weapons on the outside, especially at wide receiver with Jamon Alford, Courtney Davis, Kendrick Rogers, and Cameron Buckley. So you can never count this team out. And they've got two guys on defense that look to get the Tua Tagovailoa. When I guys at Alabama, if the Crimson Tide can lay down the law on the offensive line, run the football,
Right.
create balance, run and pass, and then defensively, a set center mind the pocket, don't allow him to break container of that pocket, tackle well, and force some turnovers. In this game, should Alabama take it, will definitely be a confidence boost for moving forward.
I know there's been some off weeks. Both teams had probably what I consider, and Arkansas did it here as well here in Fayetteville, a timely break from collegiate football to kind of mend some wounds. How is the team going into CSTAT health-wise, Stephen?
Well, right now, the only guy that's really questionable for this game is Richard Jr. Chris Owens at center on the offensive line. Had a slight knee injury over the bye week. I don't think it's anything too serious. He should be back by next week, but Nick Saban not trying to push Owens, so you will definitely see Landon Dickerson, the former five-star from Hickory, North Carolina, also the former graduate transfer from Florida State, who has come in. He's played in the last for all 5 games up to this point and already starting to become a fan favorite. Very nasty on that front line at 6'6", 308 pounds. So he'll take over the duties at center this week against Texas A&M. Bama would look at an offensive line from left to right of Alex Leatherwood, Evan Neal, Dickerson at center, Deontay Brown at right guard, and Jedrick Wills at right tackle. And I feel like if this group goes down there and does what it's supposed to do, this will be the group moving forward, because this group presents you with the best possibility to run the ball the way you want to and also protect Tua Tagovailoa in the pocket the way you want to. So Chris Owens, the only one that is questionable for this week. He may not play. If he doesn't play, keep your eyes on Landon Dickerson. He will start at center.
We got about a minute and a half, and I want everybody to know that just tuned in with us. We're talking with Touchdown Alabama's the great Stephen M. Smith. If you want to know about all Tide football, make sure you get in touch with all of the articles that Stephen puts out. But real quick, I want you to give me your offensive player, Stephen, your defensive player, and the final score in CSTAT on Saturday night versus the Alabama Crimson Tide and the Texas A&M Aggies.
I'm going to go a little bit unconventional here. My offensive player, I think it's going to be Landon Dickerson at center. I think he's going to really set the tone in this run game and getting the cues passed around the offensive line in terms of protection. So offensive player, I'm going to go with Landon Dickerson. Defensive player, I'm going to pull a freshman out here. I'm going to say Jordan Battle, the freshman safety. I feel like in this matchup, he is due for a couple of interceptions. I think he gets a couple of picks in this game. I like Jordan Battle, the freshman, at that safety position. Final score, give me Alabama 52, Texas A&M 17.
All right, my man. I know you're about to head down and deal with that 12th man environment as always and do a great job covering. I look forward to following all of your coverage from CSTAT. But there's another one we'll have you on and talk about next week as you guys will be taking on the Tennessee Vols there at home. But for now, thanks for taking time out with all your information here on OTH, Stephen.
Appreciate it, guys. Y'all take it easy.
All right. That was Stephen M. Smith of Touchdown Alabama giving us the Roll Tide update each and every week. And, I mean, he does a great, great job. But we're going to step away. I'm feeling a little nostalgic. We want to reach back to a time when Arkansas made their way up to Lexington, Kentucky and won a very big ball game. And then we're going to come back and we're going to give you the second half of the story we just started with Stephen M. Smith. Texas A&M's version from CSTAT, but we'll get that from Jeff Tarpley of 247 Sports. All that's coming up. This on the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. Let's get it.
They get the pass complete to O'Grady, who pulls his way for a gain of 9 yards. Love their most potent wide receiver not in the ballgame here in this opening series. They gash that front for the first down. That's Rakeem Boyd, another Texas A&M transfer.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. It's our Thursday edition here of on the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio on KDSJ 479 each and every day from 1 to 2 p.m. And we're going to continue on as we just pulled up to CSTAT as the Texas A&M Aggies will be hosting the number 1 ranked team in all of college football and a big team that we all know about in the SEC West, the Alabama Crimson Tide. So we thought we'd catch up with Gig'em 247 Sports on the talk a little Aggies, Jeff Tarpley. JT, welcome on the Hill, my man.
How are you guys doing today?
I'm doing very, very well. What's been the temperature as we are just a little over 48 hours, from kickoff, and what I can, I think it's going to be a very raucous environment down there in CSTAT on Saturday night.
Well, I think if you would have taken the temperature of everybody in August, people would have been very, very excited about A&M's chances to not just compete, but perhaps pull off the upset. Because at that time, the perception of A&M's football team was a lot different than the reality of what we've seen the first few games, in particular, A&M's inability to run the football in comparison to last year. So I think people are now looking at this game with a lot more trepidation than what they would have in the spring or in the summer or even just a few weeks ago.
Right.
And for A&M, I don't think that's going to make the atmosphere any less raucous, as you put it, but I do think that there's far less excitement about this game in College Station than from what you would normally anticipate, or from at least from the outside looking in.
Being at the game 2 weeks ago, Arkansas versus the A&M, I was, had a chance to watch Kellen Mond in person. Was quite surprised and didn't think that he played up to the standard that so many had hoped. Has that been, very puzzling if you're the offensive staff there for A&M, being that this is Kellen's third year as the starting quarterback, and just the development and movement and growth just doesn't seem to have, met up with where he should be in his junior years. That's something that's been talked about around CSTAT.
Well, the biggest issue that he had going into this year was his accuracy. He's worked hard on his footwork and his delivery to become a more accurate quarterback, and he is hitting 65% of his passes this year. So which is an increase from 51% as a freshman, 57% as a sophomore. So he's making the kind of progression that you would want him to be able to make in that regard. He's going on down the food chain, so to speak, in progressions more so than what he has in the past. He's got some reliable receivers. Jamon Osborne, the junior, catches almost everything thrown at him. He's got a new target, which you saw, and Nia Smith, who's been an exciting player in a couple of games for A&M. The big factor is that when he gets down in the red zone, he's making decisions to continue to try to score points, get that touchdown, as opposed to just, hey, look, you know what, maybe we have to take the field goal, or, the second down's not working, we'll just go to third down and see what we can do there. Instead, he's trying to make something happen. He's had too many turnovers in the red zone. He's also had the turnover coming out against Arkansas, along with the running back Isaiah Spiller, which turned out to be disastrous, got Arkansas right back in the game
Right.
after a very, very deflating interception on the Razorbacks' part. So I think that's the thing is that everybody needs from him at this point is to become a better decision maker. And while he struggled with turnovers in key situations last year, again in the red zone, so to speak, he hasn't gotten better at that this season. And moreover, maybe he feels like he has to do more because the running game isn't there, and that if he doesn't get to a touchdown, A&M's going to have a harder time getting the ball in the end zone via the running game because it is struggling.
Talking with Jeff Tarpley of Gig'em 247 Sports, covers all Aggie football for us here on OTH. In your opinion, Jeff, what's the biggest matchup in this ball game, in your honest opinion, for the Aggies to have their best chance to win? Where's that matchup at?
I think A&M has to be able to find a way to slow down the receiving core of Alabama and maybe not get pressure on Tua, but at least disrupt his looks, give him enough different looks so maybe he's holding the football a little bit longer and he can't quite do what he wants to do with it. Yeah, they don't get the turnover, but maybe not get the sack, but he's throwing it away. A&M is very, very good on third down defense. They haven't allowed it. I think they're allowing like 30% third down conversions this year. They're very good at forcing a lot of 3 and outs. So I think it's imperative for that back seven to be able to play well enough, to play enough assignment football to where they're popping up in the passing lanes or where Mike Elko tells them to be on defense. And so those easy throws that Alabama makes that they can convert into big-time chunk plays, I think those have to be the biggest source of concern. And if they do that, if they're able to control those and at least keep them to a minimum, then they're going to be able to stay in the game. Because A&M can throw the football and move it through the air some. They do not necessarily as at what you would on the level that Alabama does, or maybe even what you would necessarily really like to see, but they can move the football through the air. It's their most reliable means of moving the ball on offense. So I think if they can do that, if they can just slow down Alabama in the back seven, be where they're supposed to be, make sure that they take good angles, tackle in one-on-one situations, cut down on the number of chunk plays, and they stay in the game, crowd stays in the game, offense has a chance to do something. Special teams with the Braden Man has a chance to flip the field, and all of a sudden, maybe, Alabama, they play Rodney Dangerfield, the collar starts tightening a little bit on the road. And this is an Alabama team that has 3 more penalties a game on the road in a neutral site than they do at home. So you get all those things working together, then maybe you stay in the game and perhaps something happens. But it probably starts with the ability of the back seven to do what they need to do.
You got a couple minutes left, but it's never more evident if you're a college football coach, a head coach in the SEC, and Jimbo Fisher is no different than when you have these types of big games on your campus at night. You want to use it for big recruiting weekends. Could you give the listeners and viewers that are Aggie fans that listen and view our show, who are some of the big-time names that will be taking some either unofficial or official visits to CSTAT to check them out this weekend?
Well, some of the biggest names, offensive tackle Chris Morris, who's out of West Memphis, Arkansas. He's an offensive lineman that A&M really has supposedly had a good shot at landing all along. He's a big-time target for A&M. They currently have a couple of commits in the offensive line. So I think in terms of just from a standpoint of need meeting up with talent, he's probably as big of a name that's coming in. Briarcrest Christian on defensive tackle, Amari Thomas is another big one. Dallas Jesuit running back E.J. Smith, who is a big-time running back, all-purpose back out of the Dallas area, is another one. The linebacker Antonio Doyle is taking multiple official visits. He's a big-time target, 4-star. He was originally committed to Missouri. You've got a cornerback in Brian George, who is a JUCO kid out of Kansas. Katie Tompkins, defensive end, Nisi Adelaide. He's a 5-star in the 2021 class. He's a big-time get in that class. 5-star defensive end. Landon Jackson is another guy who everybody's really, really watching. He's got a teammate and defensive end, Marcus Burris, who is also a big-time target. So you've got a lot of guys coming in, not just in the 2020, but 2021 classes who could be difference makers for the Aggies. And Donovan Jackson, another one who's a 4-star in the 2021 class. So you've got to make a difference with these guys, and you've got to be competitive to the point that no matter what the outcome is, they sense that you're building something here, even if it's not for this season, that you're building something here that they want to be a part of going forward.
Well, my man, as always, love having you on. I'm pretty sure we'll continue to talk because when this seems to be the weekend that the SEC really is going to kick things off and live up to that moniker. It just means more. But for now, Jeff, thanks for taking time out here today on OTH.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate the time.
All right. That was Jeff Tarpley of Gig'em 247 Sports giving us the Aggies update with their big rivalry coming up, their big ball game in C-Stat this weekend as they'll be hosting the number 1 ranked team in all of college football and probably the Heisman frontrunner in Tua Tagovailoa. They'll be coming in, but I want to give a shout out and a thank you as we're going to wrap up today's show. That's going to do it for us here on the Hill. I want to give a thank you to our guest, David Waters of Gators Breakdown, for coming on and giving us his take. The big matchup taking place this weekend in Death Valley, Florida versus the LSU Tigers. Also, too, Stephen M. Smith of Touchdown Alabama. He set us up for what we concluded on. They'll be traveling to C-Stat to take on the A&M Aggies and hopefully defend their number 1 ranking. But Stephen came on and gave us the temperature and the view from what's taking place out of Tuscaloosa as far as Nick Saban and his ball club. And then finally wrapped it up with, as I said, Gig'em 247 Sports, Jeff Tarpley. Got even some insight as to who's going to be on campus. I know games like this, you want the big ones in. And some of those names, Arkansas fans that are listening, you know some of those names that you hope they have fun, but just not as much fun as you would like if they come to Fayetteville and visit, if that's what these kids choose to do. But my sponsor, I want to give a shout out to all you all, Lindsay and Associates, with an office location in Fayetteville, an office location also too in Rogers. Locomotion, located just below the Northwest Arkansas Mall in Fayetteville. Corey Beck's Custom Painting. Anything you need to look good. I'm talking about commercial, residential. It does not matter. Call Corey Beck and you won't be disappointed. And lastly, our newest sponsor, and one I'm really, really fond of. I tell you that all the time. KDK's Chicken at 989 Razorback Road. Go down and see Keith. Go down and see Kathy and get a plate of that love. And like they tell you, and it says it on the up on the wall, it's not your mama's. It's the best chicken in the South. But that'll do it for myself. From my producer, Demetrius, tomorrow, you know what that is. I'm talking about you know what that is. Arkansas gets ready to travel to Lexington, Kentucky to take on the Kentucky Wildcats. Kickoff at 6:30 p.m. Will be televised on the SEC network. It's tomorrow. It's Friday. So it has to be the A. We didn't have it last week, but we're back this week with it. And I'm pretty sure all of our friends, you'll be used to hearing it as they're going to give us the 411. We got Scotty Boylan, we got Alyssa Orange, we got Otis Kirk, and yes, we have Demetrius and Pat's SEC picks of the week. I'm winning tomorrow.